Layoffs at the SABC, sexual harassment at a popular Gauteng radio station, and falling circulation numbers are all putting unimaginable pressure on the media industry. Now, according to the Reuters digital news report for 2021, circulation for daily papers is down 40%. And print as a news source has fallen to 32%. That's down 5 percentage points from 2020. But how can the industry then continue to maintain balanced and fair reporting with all of these questions and further scrutiny, especially in South Africa, about the political allegiances of some media houses? Let's talk about this with media specialist Lance Claasen, who's joining us now to try and answer this question. Lance, a very good evening to you. Welcome to News at Prime. So it has been a rough year for the South African media industry, like with many other industries in the world, especially because of COVID. But when you reflect on the state of the South African media industry, what jumps out at you as an area of concern?
There are a number of areas of concern. What the COVID pandemic has done has just hurried it up. These fissures and were there long before COVID, and the COVID process and the pandemic has just rushed everything into a crisis. So what do we do in this crisis? And first, what is the crisis? The crisis is that the model for media, it's breaking down specifically for print. The advertiser model has gone to social networks, and people who are influencers command the same amount of audiences as traditional media houses. And the real crisis, it's not a crisis of just reach and revenue. It's a crisis of trust. People don't know what to trust anymore. And that's a massive issue if we are built as media and people have to trust what we say. There was a study that came out led by Kathy Satchwell, initiated by Sanef last year. And up to 41% of people don't trust traditional media. This is a crisis for us as media practitioners and communicators. If people don't trust what we say, then the problem is not just with the world out there. The problem is with us. And what are we doing to tell these stories correctly and just tell it in a unbiased, uncompromised, and true to the story and to the people that we tell it about?
And just on the point you were making then about the lack of faith, especially in the South African context, in the media, and what is truth, what is not. I wonder if, to a degree, that's been underplayed in media houses and newsrooms themselves, because people would rather believe that it's more to do with people going more digital, and that is why circulation numbers are down. That is why, in some cases, viewership and listenership is struggling.
So what's the core issue? The core issue is that when you have massive commercial considerations, I'm familiar with the workings of many newsrooms, and before newsrooms weren't concerned about commercial considerations. They were concerned about the news, and that's their job. Now they have to worry, is this profitable? No, then that compromises the news. That's the issue that they have to raise. And so where do we repair the situation? We have to go back and start first with the basics. Who, what, where, why, and how. That's the basics. And we have to tell the story well. That means no grammar mistakes, no facts of error. There was a fact of error when F.W. de Klerk passed away, and a news house said that, his wife Mariki went and gave a speech, and she died over 10 years ago when she was. But that was the problem when coming to issues of fact. We can't have those kind of mistakes.
So
the second thing is...
Sorry, Lance, I'm not sure if you can hear me. Pardon me for jumping in. I just wanted to make a point on what you were just saying about how the media needs to go back to the basics, right? Get the facts straight. Some say these mistakes are creeping in because the newsrooms have become so juniorized precisely because they don't make enough money to retain senior talent. So how do you balance the two?
So the problem with in media houses is not the junior talent. It's the people who are managing that. That's the issue. It's that they don't have enough resources to manage it. So the modeling, the basic modeling that was taking place when the digital crisis hit analog newsrooms, was, oh, we're going to cost cut, we're going to be more efficient. And what they've done is they've hollowed out the people that create quality. And so because there's no quality, there's a lack of trust in our product. And so because there's a lack of trust in our product, it means, no, we have to cost cut more. Cost cutting it's not a good form of business modeling. What they should do is ask, where's our audience? So let me actually help out the business, the owners of media houses. You start with your audience. And if there's a deficit of trust with the audience, you must look at it as an opportunity. It means, let's unpack how the sausage is made. We bring the audience into our newsrooms and we show how we make news. Thembekile, you and I have worked in newsrooms long enough to know that the stories that we fight over the most in the newsroom, it's the strongest story. The more debate, the more discussion, the more toing and froing, it makes a better story. And so we have to take people into our confidence in showing how we unpack the news. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if we have stuff that's online and we don't know whether it's the truth or not, each news house must have a verification table. Is this real or not? So when you go onto a social media platform and you see a picture and it's saying that vaccines are causing 5G, where do you are caused by 5 or disrupting 5G or something crazy like that? And somebody just doesn't know, and they truly don't know. Our job is not to ridicule that person. Our job is to go and say, this is the claim and this is what it is and this is the research, how we came about it. That's what our job should be. We should meet our audiences where they are, not where we think they are or where we tell them to be. We should create products that address issues of doubt, address issues of confusion, address issues. There are some media houses that have, for example, what News 24 has been doing with COVID, what Health in News has been doing with COVID, and what Mia Malan and Thembekile has been doing. They've been doing excellent journalism. So that's where we should go. We should go to areas of specialization, and we should do our jobs better. And we should be given resources to do our jobs better. There's such a distance between the people who run the organization and the people who make the product. I don't see how you can. That has to be repaired first before it has to be. We can execute it. So start first with looking at what's not being done. Create platforms within organizations to do that, and then that's a way forward. I think it's not the way forward, but a way forward.
What's your take then on media declaring political association or ideological association, something that's very common in the US, for example? Some are saying if the South African media went ahead and did that, perhaps that would also restore faith in the media from the public. People will then know that if I choose Channel X, I know what ideological messaging and framing I'm getting.
I think it's more honest. I'm going to betray my political ideology. I'm a social democrat. I'm left of center. That's what I believe. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to the audience and saying that I don't believe it. I'm neutral. I say no. This is my bias, and I have to explain my bias. We get that in the UK where the Guardian is left of center. You get that in where the Telegraph is right of center. But you still have to do good journalism. Both those organizations, in terms of their journalism, are still good. Whereas the difference within the USA, it's that some of these organizations forget journalism. It becomes so partisan that it's not about. They make the story and the politics a soap opera rather than substantive. So we're watching it as, oh, Trump did this, Biden did that. And it's not about what's the level of poverty rates, who's COVID most affected by. That's the kind of stuff that's real. And what it does is it glosses over the substance that has to be addressed, and that's the real issue. That the substance. I don't mind the ideological battle or the naming of clearly naming your bias, but that shouldn't take the place of real journalism.
Lance
And
Claasen.
that's what's happened in the States with Fox News and MSNBC and to a certain extent CNN, is that they fight with each other all the time. Rather than when last they deal with issues of gun violence without it being a dramatic issue. Those are the stories that are permanently undercooked, where voices are completely excluded. And we can't have that, because otherwise we get drawn into fake battles.
Okay.
I mean, there's a tendency to do that already here in South Africa. There's been a tendency to doing that.
Lance, as we do in the industry, we have to wrap it up. We're out of time. But thank you very much for your time, Lance Claasen, speaking to us, reflecting on the state of the South African media and what the industry perhaps needs to do in the next year to try save itself. Circulation numbers down, some workers retrenched during the COVID-19 pandemic, so clearly a need for change.